A couple weeks ago, the next massive open-world Assassin's Creed game got some leaks. No, I'm not talking about Mirage, which just threw its own smoke bomb and got delayed out of 2023. I'm talking about Codename Red. This is the one set in feudal Japan that we got like a 20-second cinematic trailer for. Now, apparently this game is going to feature two playable characters, a samurai and a shinobi. In the trailer, we see the female samurai doing samurai stuff, but the character we haven't seen yet is going to be an African refugee who learned the way of the Creed. So I guess we can assume that that character is the one who brings the Creed to Japan and eventually teaches this samurai the Creed too. The last game to have two fully playable characters was Syndicate. We got to play as the assassin, Evie Fry, and we got to play as her wannabe brother, Jacob. Origins has Aya, but that was for like 2 seconds, and the other games let you choose a character, but Syndicate, to me, is the last true two-character game in this series. Nevertheless, it'll be nice to return to that kind of game and to play as a female samurai and presumably a male shinobi. Now, we don't know how exactly it's going to work, but in Syndicate, you had Jacob and Evie doing specific missions tailored to each of their playstyles. Jacob blows things up and cracks jokes. Evie actually wants to be an assassin, so she goes and does assassin-type stuff. But in between, you could play as either and switch back and forth whenever you wanted to. And as much as I didn't like Jacob, I think it's a good system to have it that way. Those characters share plenty of similarities in combat, but they also have unique abilities that you get from their specific skill trees. So Jacob is the brawler and Evie is the assassin. So my hope is that they actually look back at the good ideas they had in previous games and take a similar approach with Codename Red. Make the samurai have more samurai-ish moves and make the shinobi do shinobi stuff. Guys, I'll be honest, I didn't know what a shinobi was before recording this video, but Google tells me it's basically a ninja, which is kind of confusing because the character in the trailer looks more like a ninja than a samurai to me, but hey, what do I know? But here's a comparison. If you played Ghost of Tsushima, maybe the samurai character is going to feel more like Jin's traditional fighting style, you know, up close and personal and not trying to hide or do anything stealthy, whereas the shinobi will feel more like Jin's ghost abilities, trying to be stealthy and, you know, get an edge on the enemy. If you ask me, I think they can push the two-character concept even further. I mean, my wish is for these characters to move and fight completely differently. I mean, give me separate movesets. Give me one of them that's better at parkour than the other one. Make the shinobi the glass cannon, you know, very weak but very powerful, and then make the samurai sort of a tank that deals out less damage but is more consistent, more reliable, maybe easier to play. I think as long as you're able to switch between these characters on the fly outside of missions like you could in Syndicate, then I think it's perfectly safe to do that, you know? You're not forcing people to play as one thing or the other unless it's within a mission where you specifically need them for that task. All right, the next part of this leak is that stealth is one of the biggest design focuses for Codename Red. I mean, can you imagine that? Stealth in an Assassin's Creed game? Not my Assassin's Creed. Apparently, they're taking a Splinter Cell / Hitman approach by letting you hide bodies in tall grass, put out lights so your shadows aren't seen, etc. Those are listed as, quote, current features, end quote. Now, that sounds ridiculous because it's one of those situations where you can tell the person who wrote this article doesn't actually play the games that they're writing about. So it could just be a situation of misinterpretation or whatever, but hiding bodies in tall grass, it's in Valhalla, so it's not like this is new or groundbreaking stuff. Maybe this means they're tightening up those mechanics, but yeah, this is hardly even worth mentioning if you ask me. As far as putting out lights so that your shadows aren't spotted, to be honest, I had to Google that to see if it was in Valhalla, and I couldn't confirm or deny, but I'm leaning towards no. I don't think that specifically they look at shadows, you know? That sounds most to me like a Splinter Cell mechanic, but in a lot of games, it feels like enemies don't react to shadows, they react to noise, or if you're in their line of sight. Or if you're underneath light, like in Splinter Cell, you've got that meter that shows you if you're very visible or not visible at all. So I guess specifically reacting to shadows is a new idea for an Assassin's Creed game, but Yeah, for me, it felt like stealth in Valhalla was inconsistent, which is the last thing that you want out of a stealth game. So if Ubi actually wants stealth to be good again in an Assassin's Creed game, they need to tighten this stuff up. I mean, if making sure your shadows can't be seen is actually a real mechanic, that's cool and all, but I'm more worried about basic things like line of sight and notoriety working properly. If that stuff is cleaned up, then hey, the more the merrier. Now, the last bit of this leak says that Codename Red is internally scheduled to release fall of 2024, but that they wouldn't be surprised if it gets delayed to 2025. Yeah, I wouldn't put any money down on any release date for this game. No, not me. So to wrap up my thoughts on Codename Red, I don't have the same sort of acrimony for that game being set in Japan, right? I think a lot of people, there's been this narrative going on that Ghost of Tsushima has already come out. There's going to be a sequel for it. Oh, Ubisoft needs to avoid Japan. That's not a place they can go because it's already been done and it's not going to be as good as Ghost of Tsushima. I don't think that checks out. If anything, I think Ghost of Tsushima coming out will get more people invested and excited for another game set in Japan, even if there is a Ghost of Tsushima 2. So I'm not 100% on board with that idea, but if they do actually want to take a Splinter Cell-esque or Hitman approach to Codename Red, they need to send it, like fully go on board with stealth gameplay and either revisit old ideas or try to make new ones and cherry pick some cool stuff from Hitman, because that game gets it. It feels more like a sandbox than any Assassin's Creed game I've played in the last 10 years. Systemic gameplay systems where one thing affects another thing that affects another thing, like sets off a chain reaction with smart AI. That is something that I really want. I think AI's really fallen off in the Assassin's Creed games as late. So now at the top of the video, you might remember that I mentioned Mirage was delayed to 2024. Well, I scrolled to the bottom of that same article. Lo and behold, it's not, according to other sources. So they're saying it's still scheduled for August 2023. That definitely checks out because I was thinking, how are they showing AC Mirage gameplay at Ubisoft's E3 sort of press conference? By the way, RIP E3. How would they show gameplay there, and then not release the game a couple months later? It just didn't check out in terms of timing and also from when this game was originally supposed to come out last year. So yeah, it does make a little more sense that Mirage, scratch the smoke bomb bit. No smoke bomb was thrown. Mirage will be appearing this year, apparently. And yeah, that would have also been weird for Codename Red. If Codename Red was still going to come out in fall 2024, they definitely would not have released two mainline games in the course of the same year. That wouldn't make sense to me either. Anyways, I've been rambling long enough. Assassin's Creed has sort of been relegated to a very cautious franchise for me. Like, I'm not one to pre-order, but, in my head, I decide, hey, that game's coming out. I'm going to play that game when it comes out. For me, I think I'm going to play it because I've got you guys and, sharing my thoughts on that stuff. It's something you're interested in. So yes, I'm definitely going to play it regardless, but it's not one of those like, oh my God, I have to play that video game type of feelings. Maybe that'll change if AC Mirage looks good, but man, it's running on the same engine as Valhalla. I have doubts about that. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this return to something a little more classic on the channel, talking Assassin's Creed. We'll see what Mirage gameplay looks like in a couple months, and I'll make a video on that. If you enjoyed this one, remember to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell to receive notifications next time I upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you next time.